There's a lot of concern today from Brexiteers like myself that this is all a plot to try and stop Brexit. That's what Jacob Rees-Mogg, the leader of the ERG Eurosceptic group, has said. Can you tell me, is there anybody who wants to delay Brexit, or anyone who wants to block a no-deal Brexit, or anyone who wants a second referendum who voted leave in 2016?
I've no idea. I can't answer that question. I don't know. I do come across people who voted leave who now regret it and want to remain. I've come across people who voted leave who want a second referendum. But how many there are, I can't possibly tell you. I couldn't make such a prediction.
But certainly in Parliament, everybody who is making these moves in these three areas are all people who lost the 2016 referendum. Are you all just bad losers?
The thing which characterises us is that we think that no-deal Brexit is a complete disaster. And that view is undoubtedly shared by some people who voted leave as well. And as a no-deal Brexit would be catastrophic for our country, I must do everything possible to prevent that from happening.
But if you believe that a no-deal Brexit is so bad, we know that any damage we've done to our economy would also be done to the European Union nations' economy. So, lots of people are saying that actually, especially with countries heading into recession, even Germany talking about possibly losing 100,000 jobs in the event of a no-deal Brexit, that actually just to the point when the other EU nations are going to come to the table and say, right, let's do a compromise, let's leave Juncker and Barnier out of this, and we'll just do a deal that actually helps our countries and our economies. Just at that point, taking no deal off the table will mean that the EU will say, well, we don't have to compromise at all.
But where's the evidence that suddenly all these countries are going to do deals to the side of Mr. Juncker and Monsieur Barnier? Absolutely none. This is, I'm afraid, a fantasy. The reality is that no-deal Brexit is bad for everybody, but it's far worse for us. And I have a duty as a Member of Parliament to try to make sure that my constituents' quality of life is protected insofar as I can. What people wish to do on the European continent is a matter for their own politicians. But I will not allow a no-deal Brexit to take place. And I think there are a very large number of colleagues at Westminster who share that view, which is why yesterday's events unfolded in the way they did.
Do you understand why a lot of Leave voters would object to you saying things like, I will not allow a no-deal Brexit? Currently the law states that you voted to trigger, you voted for there to be an EU referendum. You voted to trigger Article 50. You stood in a general election on a manifesto that said no deal was better than a bad deal. It was written in black and white. The reality is that the law as it currently stands, that you yourself as an MP had an opportunity to vote on and did vote on, says that at the end of March we leave, deal or no deal.
But as the Prime Minister pointed out yesterday, Article 50, this is quite clear, Article 50 was triggered because without it we couldn't even start the process of negotiating terms of exit. Equally, it's right to say that if Parliament and Government wish to move the date of departure and our EU colleagues are willing to do this, we can do it, and that is entirely in accordance with the law of the land.
You talked about the quality of life of your constituents, who, by the way, voted to leave by a majority. But quality of life isn't just about money. People make a lot of choices in their lives which aren't actually just about money. People choose to, for instance, women often work part-time after they have children to spend more time with their families. People, don't take jobs that would pay far more because it means they'll work weekends, they won't be with their families. We make a lot of choices are about what we judge about our quality of life. And one of the things that I judged as a Leave voter, and I think many millions others did as well, was that the quality of life that I wanted from living in a country that was sovereign, where I could vote in and vote out politicians who had the final say on what happened in my country, and it wasn't up to a foreign body in Brussels. That was an important issue, but also an issue about trust in politicians. Do you not worry that whatever damage you may fear, and I have no doubt at all that you're totally sincere in your belief that Brexit would be terrible for this country. I think you're wrong, but I think you're sincere in that. But do you not worry that actually whatever damage there may or may not be to the economy is nothing compared to the damage in trust in our democracy, trust in our politicians, that will be just totally and utterly swept away by any attempt to thwart Brexit?
I certainly agree with you that Brexit has damaged trust in our democracy. It's a dreadful process, and it's one which is dragging this country towards a third-rate future. That third-rate future is going to be infinitely more damaging than continuing to have a debate at the moment about the best terms of exit and preventing the worst excesses of Brexit. And if I may say so, let's get our facts right. not sure it's very relevant, but my constituents voted by a small majority to remain.
Apologies.
I get this chucked at me from time to time, and I've just got a bit fed up with it. But it is actually irrelevant because ultimately this was a national ballot, and so I don't go on the basis of the majority view of my constituents.
I stand corrected there, but of course you did say that you would respect the result of the referendum, what it was. But you just said to me, we talk about facts, I agree with you, Brexit has damaged trust in our democracy. I didn't say that. I don't believe Brexit hasn't damaged trust in our democracy. I think Brexit has been the most wonderful vehicle for democracy in this country, giving people the say over how our country is run. After all, our powers were handed over by MPs like yourself to Brussels without our permission. The trust in democracy has been damaged by MPs who said, I will stand by this referendum result, not standing by the referendum result. That's where the trust has been damaged.
Well, I'm afraid we're going to disagree about this. I think Brexit has been damaging to our democratic institutions and our processes, in part because of some of the things which happened during the referendum campaign itself, some of the lies that were perpetrated,
Project
and
Fear,
the manipulations. Yeah. So I'm afraid I don't think it's been a very good exercise in democracy.
So why would a second referendum be any better?
But I think we're probably in agreement for once that this process and the desirability of trying to bring it to an end is that we ought to try and do that, and that our democracy will suffer if there's a continuing uncertainty. But if I may say so, as an advocate of a second referendum, that is exactly what I'm trying to do, because if people wish to leave the EU on the terms negotiated by the Prime Minister, and they are at the moment the only terms available for departure.
No, they're not. No deal is a terms of departure.
No deal is not a term of departure. No, it is not, because it is unlawful. I keep on making this point. No respectable modern government which is adherent to the international rules-based system, can offer no-deal departure as a viable option because it violates other international obligations of the United Kingdom. And this is so fundamental a point that no respectable government can do it. Now, if people
how come you stood on a manifesto? You stood on a manifesto that stated no deal's better than a bad deal. You didn't raise this issue with your constituents and say, well, actually, this promise in my party manifesto is completely illegal.
I did. I have never adhered to no deal being better than a bad deal. No deal breaches our other international legal obligations, in specifically to Ireland under the Good Friday Agreement. They are incompatible. So if people want to have a no-deal Brexit, let us have a general election. Let us elect members to Parliament who wish to violate our international obligations. And if you want to do that, that is a new world for the United Kingdom to move into. I might add a further step in our general disintegration as a nation, and we probably won't survive it as a United Kingdom at all. I am not prepared to allow it to happen. And if people wish to vote me out of office at general election, that's a matter for them, but I will not do it.